Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to askNK. Today we have some very interesting news and update, and of course a couple of walkthroughs that you guys would definitely want to take a look at. Today we're getting Renderman 24 for Blender, and we're going to go ahead and talk about how you can install this, grab it, and also how you can actually get started with it. So all you need to do is go over to the link in the description that will bring you over to renderman.pixar.com, and from here you would need to register or simply, create a login so that you can actually start getting it. Now, once you get that, all you need to do is go over to this section that you have as try/buy and click on that button, and it would also require you to log in. Now, once you log in, you would also notice that we have a section called non-commercial, and this is the one you would like to work with first of all before you proceed to go over to the purchase section. Try this one first, see how it works, use it before you go here. And it's cool to see that you can actually click on the try for free now and get it. Now, once you click on this button, it's going to download the Renderman software. Now, downloading this Renderman 24 software is pretty cool, as once you go in and run the installation, you would also need to enter your registration, username and password again for you to actually get the real installation going on. Now, once that is done, you need to come back to this page and go over to the installation section, and you would notice that we have a section called My Downloads. In most cases, once you click on this button, it is going to bring you right over to this page that will tell you that you literally have nothing to download. So what do? I'm just going to go ahead and also show you how you can get started with it. So instead of going through there and, playing hanky-panky, not getting it to work, not getting it to open, what you need to do is go over to the GitHub instead. So if you go over to this GitHub, don't download this one. This one is definitely not going to work because this isn't the latest one. You need to click on the latest release, and it's going to bring you right over to the Renderman 24.0. This is what you need. This is the one you need to download. So what you need to do, scroll all the way down, and you notice we have Renderman for Blender 24.0, with all that number. Download these and start working with it. There's a couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, this is only supported for Blender 2.83 and also 2.92. Anything other than that, you might potentially have issues. Actually, you also have issues if you're working with 2.83. In most cases, you need to save your file before you proceed. Something else which you'd also notice is there's a couple of features that exist here. Cycles node doesn't completely move across with these other ones, so we're going to talk about how you can deal with that in a bit. For you to get the 2.83, just in case you missed the LTS series, or maybe you want to get the 2.92, because right now in Blender what we have is 2.93.0. Go over to the download section, and how you can get the previous downloads is go over to the section called previous download, click on the hyperlink, it's going to bring you right over here, and then you can click on downloads, and downloads will bring you right here. So once you come over here, you can now download a huge set of things that you might want to work with. Now this is very easy. Now we have Blender ready, we have the Renderman ready. Make sure you install the Renderman and then fire up Blender. Now, once you fire up Blender, in this case I have Blender 2.83.16, you need to go over to edit, go over to preference, then over to install, and install that zip file we downloaded from the GitHub. Now that zip file you downloaded from the GitHub is going to be written as Renderman, and you would notice that you have this Renderman thingy here. Now for this one, I just went on to turn the behavior to render previews, and that's it. And every other thing, you just need to keep it the same way they are. Click on this button, save your preference, you can close Blender and open Blender back up, and that is how cool it is. Now let's do the litmus test. Let's test this thing and see how it works. So if you simply throw a plane right here, and we have the simple cube, we can raise this cube all the way up. Right now, I think I missed Suzanne, so let's go in and throw a bit of Suzanne right there, raise her up to a point like so, select, rotate this one to this point. Let's subdivide this bad boy because, we like them subdivision. Click right here, let's throw in a simple UV sphere, and we have that going on. Everything seems to be going on pretty nicely now. And I'm also going to go in and smooth shade this. Okay, so you guys notice something. Now, if you would like to start rendering with Renderman, you need to go over to the render section right here and switch this to Renderman. Or if you right click, you can use Renderman from this section. Now you can actually activate Renderman from any part of your viewport at any point in time without even going to this button. So how you can do that is right click, go over to the Renderman, right here where you have render, you can select IPR, and you can start previewing this render on the fly. So within this time, you can now do some very interesting things. One thing which I've come to find out is, unlike what you have with cycles and also with Eevee, if you create a brand new light around this time, let's say we duplicate this light and I choose to move it, it doesn't update. All right, so it doesn't update. That's one of the things you might need to keep in mind. So I'm just going to go ahead and right click, go back and simply stop the IPR, which is interactive preview render, and start it one more time. In this case, now that we've started this looks pretty cool. All right, this looks really cool. So what about textures? How do you assign textures? Actually, let's talk about materials. Maybe we'll make a separate video and talk about textures a bit more in detail. So how do you assign materials? How do you deal with some very cool features that exist with this? So if you want to get a panel that you can work with every single time, if you press N on your keyboard, you'll notice that we have the Renderman panel right here. Within the Renderman panel, you can do lots of things. You can browse the preset and check out for some of the presets you would like. You know, probably you need some environment stuff, you need some material stuff. Yep, there are some presets that would actually make your life better, so you can check out those ones as well. And then if you are feeling very excited about some things, let's say, for example, let me just simply select this. So let's say, for example, we would like to apply some sort of material to this one. Let's go in for a glass, maybe a blue glass like this. Okay, let's select that and click on this button down here, import and assign to selected. That looks pretty cool. Now, once we have that selected, we have that going. You can see how quick that is. You know, you're having this thing preview automatically. Let's also do something to Suzanne. Select this, go over to the preset. You know, we like preset stuff, and I think this is going to be very good for a lot of you guys. So we can also go over to metal. I actually haven't seen a metallic Suzanne before. So let's see what Suzanne will look like. I think let's make her gold-like and import and assign selected, beautiful, and click on OK, and we have that going. So what about if you like to assign materials by yourself? Presets are cool, but sometimes you like to work with these materials yourself. You know, you want to make changes to the shaders and get some good stuff happening for you. How you can do this is simple. Let's also, you know, just go all the way back and make a copy. Actually, let's create a brand new one. So we'll just go right here and create a brand new one. I'm just going to raise this one all the way up to this point, right click and make that smooth. Looking good. Okay, so go over to the material section, click on new, assign a new stuff like always, but this time, instead of just simply keeping this material as new, you'll notice we have a tiny button here that says add Renderman Node tree. But then if you're working with some other things, let's say you have a scene before that you've been working with, and you probably just want to convert that to the Renderman stuff. All you need to do is just create a brand new editor section and then go over to your shading editor or your shader, have this object selected. You'll notice we have a tiny button here, which is more like a hierarchy button, but it is for the Renderman Node tree. Click on that button and then select a certain kind of material you like to work with. If you want to work with the llama sort of nodes, or maybe you want to work with the llama surface, you can choose that. But in this case, I think we should just go with the legacy, you know, Pixar Disney one and click on OK. So once we do that, you notice that we have this bad boy ready to rumble. Let's just simply move this one here. And you would also notice that once we have this selected, we can choose to solo this and unsolo it, which is also cool. So we can have that and unsolo it, select it, solo this, unsolo that. Cool. So in this case, let's also say we would like to change the color. You might also want to change the color if you want to. You notice it's more like the, you know, the principal shader that we have in Blender. Everything looks the same. Really cool. I'm quite excited about this one, and you can hear that from the tone of my voice, and you can see all of these things going on. And you can make your changes if you want. If you want to make it a bit more metallic, you can do that. If you want to add some subsurface, if you want this to emit some things, you can also change that by yourself, and you can have fun working with it. So in this case, if you already have like a cycles scene and you like to convert this, it's very convenient right now, because all you need to do is just click on that tiny button there, or you can simply add that from here. And that is how it is easy for you to get started with working with this. So let's talk about lights. Lights are very, very important in every kind of rendering that you're doing. And in this case, the Renderman 24 actually covers that. And if you're using this for Blender, you might need to know a couple of things. First of all, we have a very cool feature that deals with light mixing. So this is one of those things that I really wish that we've always had. And at this point, you can also choose to make some tweaks to your lights depending on how you like them to be. So in this case, what we're going to do is I would create another kind of light, or simply let's duplicate this one and move this all the way to this point so that you guys can see all the miracles that will be happening. So we have this one here. I will have this one selected, add a Renderman node. This is very important. Okay, so you also select this, add a Renderman node. That is also very important. Let's do that for this one as well. So now that we have this one going, you'd also notice that within the shader, we have some very cool stuff going on right here. It looks pretty different from what you have before. Very standard, you know, very Blender-like. Okay, so at this point, if we right click and go over to the IPR, we can preview this and see what it looks like. Okay, very simple. And we can choose to play with the intensity and increase the intensity of this. So we have this intensity set all the way. I'm just going to go ahead and set this intensity to 10, which is a bit loud. And then I can set this to 0.1 and get something like that. Actually, let's just set this one to 1, and you can notice the intensity happening. Now we can also choose to play with the color, or we can play with temperature. So for temperature, if we crank this all the way up, you notice it gives more of a bluish tint. And if we crank this one all the way down, it gives, you know, that sort of warm looking tint. So we can choose how we would like these things to be. So at this point, we can just go in and keep this one like so, looking good. Okay, not bad, that looks good. And then we can also select this other one. Let's see, what do we have here? All right, so with this one, we can choose to give it a given color. Maybe we can go for something bluish. Let's go for something bluish, something a bit far off. Let's add that stuff, and let's make this one 1 right here. Actually, let's make this 10 as well, so that we can see the effect on this as well. And we can also select this other one and go towards the green. I think we should do green this time, and set this to 10 and then set this to 1. All right, so we're having exciting times. Okay, so with this going on, what can you do? You can now switch from here, go all the way down, and you notice we have a light linking editor. So within the light linking editor, you can add as much lights as you want. So I can go in and select this light, say light 1, I want to add this light, I want to add this other light, I want to add these other lights. So once you add these lights, you can select this light, and you can also select the objects that you like this light to actually illuminate. So in this case, if I wouldn't want, let's say, this other light, which is the light 001, which is the green light, if I wouldn't want the green light to illuminate something like Suzanne, I can go in and have that selected. Like right now, you notice it's illuminating her. Click on the plus sign, click on Suzanne, go over to the default, turn this off. In this case, you would notice that we're only having a resultant effect of the GI, and the light itself is not actually hitting on Suzanne. So if we turn this on, you can see what we have here, and if we turn this off, you can see what we have there. Actually, a good example for this one isn't Suzanne. So let's go in and take that out and take a look at that cube. So if we turn on the cube and add this in here and switch to turn this off, voila, you can see that effect. And every other thing that you see going on here is just more like the GI bounces going on, you know, and making things happy. You can also select the second light and choose how you like the second light to distribute itself, and you can tweak these things to your liking, you know. So if we go over to the cube, we can also click on the plus sign, add that, switch from here, and then turn this off, and you notice that we have that one totally off. So this gives you so much flexibilities in terms of ease of use, and also the learning curve for this is very, very cool. One more thing which we actually have to look at is how do you control the lights? There is a light mixer that is also available with this. So just in case you would like to work with that, if you right click and go over to your RenderMan, you can now notice that we have light mixer group. So we can go over the light mixer group and actually add as much lights as we want. So in this case, if we would like to create a light mixer group and add this light, and click on the plus sign to add that, click on the plus sign to add this, click on the plus sign to add this other one, we can choose to control these lights however we want. So in this case, we have one light, which is this one, which actually works with temperature. So we can play with the temperature and get some good results from that. And we can also play with the exposure to get some very good results with it. And we can also do some more stuff like so, and also tweak this one. Actually, let's set this to yellow, and we can tweak this one as well to our liking and also get some pretty cool results. Now, the reason why you didn't see the effect is, if you remember earlier, we kind of deactivated how much this light actually bounces across the other ones. And this is how you get things to work. Something else to also keep in mind is if you're thinking about playing with lights, okay? So you're looking for more lights. If you hold down Shift and tap E on the keyboard, go over to the light section, you would notice that there is a plethora of lights. At the same time, there's also light filters that you might want to work with. And while we're talking about the things that you can add up here, there's a quadrics which you can play with. And you also notice you can import volumes if you want to work with volumes. If you have like volume boxes you want to work with, we'll probably do a different video about this one and do some comparisons just in case. And if you want to bring in Alembic stuff, you can also do all of these things right here. It's also worth knowing that there's some very cool features. Actually, there's a whole lot of cool features that comes with the RenderMan that I really wish existed in Blender by default. But you know, this is what it is. So let's take a look at some of them. So right now, once you hit the render button and you're rendering, right over here, you already know that we have the IPR running. So you can stop the IPR from here, and you can also start it from there. pretty cool. There's also this cool button that you can use to flush texture cache. So just in case you want to ease out or you want to clear the memory, this is also very nice. If you want to take a screenshot, this is also very, very cool. And this is going to save the screenshot for you. And you'll be able to see the screenshot. Let's go over to rendering, take a look at what we have here. And if you go over to the images, you would notice that we have those screenshots. So you can save those screenshots depending on what you're working on. And since we're running IPR, at any point in time you want to edit a crop window, you can always do that. So we can select this part and only that part would render. We can focus on that part and this would save a lot of render time. I mean, just this is very cool, as you can also proceed to close that, select it one more time if you want to deal with this section. So let's go in a bit. So let's actually go in a bit. So we want to deal with this section. We want to get that particular precise rendering quality on just that section. We can also get that happening. Now, it's also very interesting to see that you can zoom into some places. Currently, this is known as enhance. And if I go in and select the part like this, it enhances this, zooms it in, and we can have a clearer vision of what we are rendering at that point and what the textures look like while we're rendering. Now, while this is going on, if you also, click on anywhere, so let's go ahead and do that again. If I click on this button, it zooms right in. If I go in and click right here, it zooms out. If I right click, it comes all the way out. And you can tap the escape key to actually get rid of that. And in cases where you like some interactive refinements, you can choose how much sampling gets to happen at any given time or how much refinement happens at every given time. So if I set this one to 1, this is what we're getting. If I go in and select this one and set it all the way to 6, you would notice that we have a more set of refinements that continually happen since this is an IPR. And this would definitely change or improve how your renders would look like. So there's also a very cool button here which actually helps how much resolution you get to see on your viewport. So if you set this to 50, this is what you get. Let's actually downgrade this all the way down. Who cares? Get this to 12. Ooh, I wish all renders were like this. Okay, so we can actually go ahead and set this one to 100 and you can get the most out of it. At any point in time, you would like to see some of the channels that you're working with. Let's say you just want to see the alpha channel, or probably you want to see the depth channel, want to see the ID channel, or maybe you just want to see the color channel. Obviously go in and turn these things on. So with this here, there is just a whole lot of things that I really wish we had in Blender that you can take advantage of. There is this beautiful, RenderMan live statistics stuff. I've not really gotten this one to work, as this is, I think this is one of those things that you might be able to get if you have the commercial version. It's actually not available with the non-commercial version. But with that said, there is also some other cool things that exist with this one. Now there's a cool new update that they've also included to this, which is known as the XPU. Now XPU is more like a hybrid form of rendering that the folks at Pixar has created, or they have created right now. And this takes advantage of your CPU and also your GPU. So once you're creating or you're rendering stuff, this will take all of the powers that you have and get you some very cool render. And in terms of, how much of a good rendering this is going to help you get in comparison with what you can get with cycles, RenderMan actually knocks this one out of the water. Now with that said as well, there's also a very cool set of things that they've also added to this, which is known as Llama. And Llama is more like layered materials. We'll probably make a separate video about that one to explain it a bit more. And you would notice that when we go over to the material section and click on this button, you notice that we have the Llama. So there is a Llama surface that exists right now. There's also a set of Llama nodes that you can work with, and we might end up exploring these ones in more detail for those who would like to work with it. Now, if you're working with a multi-display, in most cases, you want to get your rendering happening in one screen, and then you want to have your control in another screen. That is cool. That is really, really cool. I love that. And if you have multi-display, you would love that as well. And that is also something else that you can get with this. So RenderMan by default, for those coming from Maya, you already know that RenderMan has a window or rendering window known as IT. So the IT or the IT rendering window is something that you can also turn on here. So if we go over here, you'll notice it says render to Blender. We can click on this button and select it. So what happens is once we start doing the IPR, it is going to pop up a brand new window. Now this window is what we can use to see what is going on. You can choose to dock this window on a different monitor altogether, or you can simply, just proceed to work with it within the same monitor. Now in this case, you might want to dock them side by side. So let's proceed to do that. And with that here, we can now actually switch over to the camera, because what this is doing is it's taking a look at what we have within the camera, and that is what it is rendering. So let's see what it is looking at. So from here, if we rotate, you notice we don't see anything. But if we press 0 on the keyboard, we switch over to the camera, go over to view, lock this camera, and then if we move, you would notice there's an update. Now, in most cases, you might want to be a bit more smarter than this and say, you know, what if we kind of switch over to this view? If you switch over to this view and move this, it's not going to update, okay? It's not going to update. You have to be within this view, and that's, you know, it is what it is. That is definitely what you can get. Now, once you're working with RenderMan as well, you might want to create your own camera, and you don't want to really use the default camera, okay? Yeah, that is also something that you can do. So what you can do is you can go over to the RenderMan section, add camera, click on this button. This one makes me smile a lot. You know, the folks at Blender Foundation added this feature and they took it out, which is one of those things that we talked about and said we didn't like. So if you add the camera, you can now lock the camera. So no need to go over to view, lock camera, come back, you know, all of that stuff, no more. You can lock the camera, you can choose to view through the camera and not view through the camera. You can set your depth of field distance from here, and you can add the object which you want to work with from there. Just lots of cool things that just makes life better. So once you're done with this, you can also proceed to press home key to make this a full screen. So one of the other updates that also exists with this is the open image denoiser. So you can choose to use the open image denoiser right now, and if you switch over to your IPR, you get very faster rendering times compared to what you would typically get with cycles. Okay, so compared to what you typically get with cycles, this is far better. Okay, so let's go ahead and test it one more time. Boom, and there you have it. All right, so the open image denoiser right now is super cool, super fast. So this is more like it. So for those who like to read up on these things, I'm going to put a link in the description where you'll be able to check it out and tell me what you think about it in the comment section. And of course, if you like this video or you learned something from this, you can go ahead and give a like, and don't forget to share with a friend. And if you're new here, it's going to be amazing for you to hit the subscribe button and also turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or the next update. And I'll see you guys again with a tutorial update, Free Friday, Tutorial Tuesday, tips and tricks, things like this. Peace.